Oh boy, do we have some speculation today, because nothing really happened last week, and that's
actually a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, no news is good news on that premise, but we have been surfing the Reddits and the forums, and we stumbled upon a couple of interesting ideas, and the first one is about the goddamn sword of Sargeras.
Something has happened there.
Yeah, man, I mean, they ignored that. They did say that that story is going to have a conclusion sometime in the future.
Clearly.
But let's make some context here. First of all, I don't believe there's going to be a 9.3. That's final. There's no way in hell
they have prolonged the development of the expansion way too long. So even though they might seem like they're not really that interested in keeping up with Activision's delivery time, there's probably still have to respect at least an expansion delivery time at a certain point. And we already had 9.0 that was almost as long as 2 patches. And now we're gonna have 9.1, which looks like it's going to be longer than a normal patch anyway, but maybe not as long as 9.0, hopefully.
Yeah, so, and with the whole context of the recent events and such, things are pretty slow over there, and rightfully so. Nobody's bashing on them for that, okay? Just to take your time. However, it has occurred that, and we'll start it off with this. So, first of all, if you go in Korthia, in the Chamber of Wisdom, I believe, around the props over there, you're gonna find a little miniature sword of Sargeras, and that's the version that is being stabbed, in Azeroth.
Into Azeroth, yeah.
That's one thing. Second, and this was like really interesting. We kind of knew about this for a while, but we can piece things together. For everyone who's done the Tazavesh dungeon, there's a certain character over there. I don't know how the fuck he got there, what he's doing there, but it's Prince Gallywix. And he's over there just chilling with some of the brokers. I don't know what the fuck is up there. But that being said, there's this Reddit thread started by PizzaBowls44, a Redditor on, I think it's the Warcraft lore subreddit.
Yeah.
And basically, there's this speculation that in 9.2, the finale, right? So thinking about having a raid where we face off the jailer as the final boss, and that's it. We conclude Shadowlands. That final thing will be with Azeroth waking up, taking the sword of Sargeras, and killing the jailer, ending his domain and ending all the risks of ending reality or whatever that may be. Now, how would the sword of Sargeras be, lifted from the wound?
Well,
this is where Gallywix and the Goblins come in.
There's a couple of things, yeah, because I read that Reddit thread as well, and I have mixed feelings about this because it just doesn't match the scale of patches that they've done so far. I do feel like in 9.2 we have to be on the sepulchre of whatever, so that would probably be the new zone, and obviously there's going to be a raid there at the very least. We're going to follow the jailer there. If we're gonna fight the jailer, that would be pretty cool. Although, judging for how they've made the bosses, they're kind of milking characters so much that I felt like we were always gonna fight jailer in the next expansion or something like that.
That's gonna happen for sure.
But that's besides the point. The Azeroth stuff. I mean, there's a lot of lore going into the Burning Legion versus the Death Realm, because the Burning Legion initially had a contact with the Dead Realm through Ner'zhul and the Scourge back in Warcraft 3. So there's obviously a connection there. Now, how this all started might be a talk for a different type of video, but I think didn't the post said something like they were just gonna chop it down and we can make armor off of the sword?
That's what's up. So the speculation is that because Prince Gallywix is in Tazavesh, and because in Korthia there is this prop item over there in Chamber of Wisdom, there's some connection between Princess Gallywix's goblins, his working class who have been there. Remember the end of what was it, 7.3.5? We went there and there were goblins there, and the SI7 from Alliance in Silithus, yes. So work has been done there. Now the thing is, we have to correlate this with the fact that Steve the Newser did mention that when we go into the Shadowlands, time has a different flow as opposed to when we're there. So we don't know necessarily what this means, but it could mean that either while we're in the Shadowlands, you know, in the real world, time is just maybe a day or something, right? So nothing major happened, or it could be, I don't know, 1,000 years, who knows, right? As somebody posted. So in that case, it may be the fact that when we get back, right, to Shadowlands and we get to the finale of the fighting the jailer, they already dug up, you know, all of the small parts over there, and they dug up the wound and pulled out the sword, and something happens, right? Like we saved Azeroth with our Heart of Azeroth. Remember, like there was the first thing.
Well, we kind of used it to kill Nazoth though. And
yes, but at the beginning of BFA, when we lost our artifacts, basically what we did, we sacrificed all of our artifact power to heal her wound. That was it. This is why we got rid of the artifact weapons, right? So in that regard, the wound would not be a big issue anymore for her. And I don't know how and what the construct would be, but for me, seeing this, you know, because this is like some dumb big shit if it would happen. Like Azeroth waking
crazy.
up.
Maybe they need to take this leap because it feels like Azeroth waking up kind of ties a lot of storylines that they wanted to talk about, especially when it comes to the Void and the Burning Legion, because we don't yet still know what happens to Sargeras. Well, are we just to assume that he's been imprisoned in the Pantheon?
Probably, you know, Illidan is over there, you know, just slapping him, you know, making
yeah, well, I mean, yeah, that cannot be the end of it. There has to be like something happening there, and that would have had to tie in with his sword. And obviously, his Sargeras has been fighting against the Void Lords this whole time, so that kind of has to tie in with Azeroth waking up. So I feel like just waking her up just to fight the jailer is a very big move, and then maybe they kind of need a big move at this point to, you know.
And you got to remember that the jailer has his eye, you know, on Azeroth for some time. Remember, we, because of our connection to Azeroth, can walk through the Shadowlands no problem. We're like the Maw-walkers, and this is through our connection with her, and he really wants her soul. Why, we don't know, but if she becomes threatened by him,
for just power. I mean, it's not.
Maybe there's something else there. Who knows? But the thing is, there's definitely connections between Azeroth and the current story right now. They're not super explained. Obviously, we kind of got used to that, but that's not the point. Speculation is, as the threat looms, you know, closer and closer from the jailer towards Azeroth, you know, Azeroth waking up, taking her, you know, Titan form, and using Sargeras' sword to fight the jailer and probably kill him would be some epic dumb shit. And I found the Sargeras stabbing Azeroth with some epic dumb shit, and they need some epic dumb shit to make this work, because this story has been boring so far.
Cool. I agree. At this point, I mean, we criticize corruptions in 8.3 being incredibly stupid, but that was maybe one of the most funnest times in BFA. So it just goes to show you that people like crazy stuff. People like big, stupid, crazy stuff. And at least at this point in a game that has a story old for like 20 years right now, being in the works for over 20 years. So maybe this is something that we definitely need to get into. It would also, because when I look at it and trying to picture like a logical way for the story to progress, this does not feel like a logical way for the story to progress. But I mean, they haven't progressed the story in a logical way for some time now.
Just put in some epic dumb shit. That's what I'm saying.
A lot of retcons, like how Frostmourne was actually made by the Primus, which, I mean, it makes a lot of sense, but back when Frostmourne was introduced, it was supposed to be a blade that the dwarves found, that there was a legend about it. So how did that legend come to be if it was a Primus? They had to
tie in Jailer and Primus and everything.
It was weird because it was supposed to be the Legion. Okay, well, maybe it was made by the Primus, but how did the Legion come to get into contact with it? So that's another interesting connection that will probably have to feed into 9.2. So 9.2 has to be like a really big patch. There was also another post, right? I think you were gonna go into.
So, you know, Azeroth, I'm still sticking to that. So Azeroth, you know, delivering the final blow to the jailer, but in the raid, we would need some fucking huge powers to actually face off the jailer, right? So next speculation is more systemy, and this is a kind of an old post. I didn't want to talk about it last week, but you know the other events happen and whatnot, so it's about time. Now this was made by Beyond Electric Dreams. He's a pretty active Redditor in the Warcraft lore Reddit, and I'm just gonna read it off first of all because it's a lot to go through, and then we're gonna talk about it. Okay. Okay, so I've been saying since 9.0 was launched that they were going to find a way to make Frostmourne a player item, or at least something like it. The Jailer is the source of the artist's visual aesthetic, and nothing is more Arthas than Frostmourne. Agree up until this point. Revealing that the rune carver was the one originally who made Frostmourne was the first detail that made me further sure of this. Even more so once it was revealed that he is the Primus, our ally. So, what is the newest detail that makes me so sure? I'm just reading his post, yeah? Okay. Well, we know mourneblades can shred the soul apart. We also know that souls produce anima. In the dialogue post-cutscene, the Primus reveals that Zovaal was the original arbiter, but he wanted to upset the balance of life and death. So they stripped him of his anima and used it to make the arbiter. Well, I like his post. That sure sounds like as a good an excuse as any to arm the player characters with soul stealing, you can read anima stealing, weapons to take back the arbiter's essence. It's something they've been building towards since the start. I mean, it would explain why DKs didn't get Frostmourne back in Legion, pretty fucking true. They were planning it and weapons like it to be a major patch feature of the Shadowlands. They didn't get Frostmourne.
Yeah, but they got shards of Frostmourne, so that's true. And I think because they didn't actually get, there was a lot of issues with Frost DKs getting Frostmourne based on how they're designing it. But it does kind of make sense. It might be a coincidence, but they could have used, even if they did get Frostmourne in Shadowlands, it was named Blades of the Fallen Prince instead of actual shards of Frostmourne.
Yeah.
It could have been named that, but they didn't choose that.
Yeah, let's carry on. It will also be a huge hype moment. They're banking on that to draw people back, not unlike Legion legendaries. Every class gets their own personal Frostmourne legendary is exactly the kind of feature to do so. One last element in favor of this theory. As of now, they've not given players any Maw-themed items with glowing blue runes. They've avoided entirely. In fact, in spite of the fact that it's arguably the most iconic visual associated with the Maw. But we know that it's domination magic, and we know that the Primus is the one who wields that. They're saving this until the last patch to make the stuff look fancier, and of course because that's when we get our mourneblades. This is how he calls them, mourneblades. Hence also why they gave them a name category. It implies more than just Frostmourne, which we'll certainly find when rogues get mourneblade daggers, hunters get mourneblade spears, etc, etc. Now this would basically mean Artifacts 2.0, but probably as a simpler version of it.
You know what this reminds me of? The legendary bow that Sylvanas drops now. I think this is a testing grounds for stuff like this, so it actually could make a lot of sense, because if you really think about it, the legendary bow that drops from Sylvanas actually gives you a new ability. Yeah, it gives you an ability that you can actually use, drop from your spellbook, put on your bars, and use.
That's, that'll be so if they go that route, that'll be like the super simplified version. I'm thinking more Artifacts 2.0 in the sense that you can actually open up the more
progress system. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it would be another system. Hello, but it would be a selling point, I'm sure, because I think that part of Legion, even though, a lot of people forget how grindy it was and how messy it was for alts. If you want to play the different spec on that, it was
not even alts, different specs.
Different specs, yeah, it was ridiculous. But I still believe people think back fondly of the artifact weapons. And yeah, it's pretty cool that the laptop just shut down now, no more battery, but it's fine because we have the conclusion, we have read it. Thank you, battery, you lasted for this.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I think there was one instance where Ian talked about this. I don't know if it was an interview or it was at BlizzCon Online. I think it was BlizzCon Online when they initially revealed that the bow for Sylvanas will be a legendary that will also give you an ability. He specifically mentioned that the technology was still from Legion, where they can add an item and transform and add an ability to the character. The technology, as in the code for it, was there. So I wouldn't be surprised if they would use it for more than just legendary, hence the mourneblades that would probably give you an ability, like whether or not you have a bucket, an empty bucket where you can shove anima in it and become stronger. That's neither here nor there, but I do think that they would be obviously not just like the bow of Sylvanas, but more. But I think they might even give us a new ability. I mean, it would make more sense. I mean, honestly, to me, this will make more sense a little bit than Azeroth waking up, because it was kind of built in. I mean, if the Primus built the Frostmourne, then obviously, I mean, keep that concept going, because if you do, when you do the story for Maldraxxus while leveling up, you do craft your first rune blade. And I was like, wait a minute, I thought rune blade was like, okay, so rune blade is like, okay, but what is rune blade? So that's kind of when you first hit the concept of rune blade, like, wait a minute, so that's not Jailer, that's kind of the Maldraxxus one. So okay, that kind of makes sense. So, and if the Jailer is going to the Sepulchre of Souls, then obviously he's going to use souls to empower himself, so it would make sense to use mourneblades to strip him of his power and actually be able to find him.
Yeah, it makes sense from a lot of points of view if you look at it. It's just the worrying factor here is that it's going to be another system, and you know, I would be cool for this to happen, don't get me wrong, but they really need to drop the other shit. Like, okay, maybe keep the legendaries, you know, and don't add anything else to the soulbinds and conduits. Just leave them like that. Just make them grow on atom level. That's fine, but don't add anything up. Fuck, you know, Shadows of Domination is going to go away
at one point. So
that's the thing. Tier sets is also on the table, right? So there's tier sets and this potential artifacts 2.0. Now these are 2 more systems on top of everything that we already have. And
well,
remember what was promised?
No more systems, but hopefully tier sets will replace the domination system. That's tier sets replacing 2 systems.
Hey, really. maybe the tier sets will actually be, you know, 2 or 3 pieces of gear that will allow you to actually activate your Mournblade weapon.
It could be, and
maybe that will be like the specific bonus, like your Mournblade will do this. That will be interesting, and we'll blend the two.
That will be interesting, and that's also what I was thinking about when you mentioned the pizza dude's post. And by chopping and also wanted to make this point as well. Chopping off Sargeras' sword can give us items that can be the tier sets because they're empowered, right? Sargerite armor and Sargerite weapons. I don't know if it's Sargerite weapons if we're gonna get mourneblades, but the fact that Gallywix is there, then that also means a couple of things.
Something happens over there.
Well,
motherfucker.
Gallywix clearly has to be in Shadowlands to be able to travel there. So he was in Shadowlands and he did go there.
So, but listen, how the fuck is he there and not have anything happen? We're Moonwalkers.
Or maybe okay, well that's fine, but maybe the brokers came because we kind of established a connection between Azeroth and Shadowlands. Maybe the brokers came to Shadowlands, to Azeroth, and maybe Gallywix struck bargains like, look guys, we've chopped this big ass sword. You can have a piece of it.
Because they're curious for this shit.
And just let me into your trade city and see what's what. Maybe he's using the sword as a bargaining chip, as a currency to establish a connection with the brokers, and that would mean that the brokers might give Gallywix a technology to actually craft something out of it. Although I don't know, because the brokers are not supposed to be about technology, is supposed to be about collections, about having stuff.
Well, that's the thing, right? They have this thing in common. Gallywix, you know, is trade prince. You know, he likes to make bargains, deals. You know, still sell stuff, buy stuff. Brokers, kind of in the same way, they like to collect things, you know, and study and archive a lot of the things they come across. So there may be some connection, or I would say a deal, a bargain, but as you put it, and that just hypes me up because, again, there's characters in this game like Gallywix, which I love. It's like you have so much potential there, and also the small characters, right? Like Gallywix isn't a big motherfucker, you know. The small stories, like here and there, could be used to just, you know, mount up a greater story. Not just give me fucking Zovaal, change your mind.
Nah, it's weird. I think the concept of making characters bigger than life is a little bit worn out at the moment.
Yeah, but we have some epic dumb shit. I mean, I'm down for the epic dumb shit. Azeroth, wake it up. Come on, man.
Yeah, but the epic dumb shit also means Thrall being the savior of Azeroth, Messiah kind of concept. So that's you know,
we got.
Let's just make it MMO-ish. Let's make everybody be like super Frostmourne stuff.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. 9.2, as you know, looking from these perspectives, could be a really great patch. But for this to happen, again, they have to take really good care of the lore. And this is something we haven't touched on. You know, Arthas may be showing around. You know, a couple things over there. They really have to be careful with that. The story has to make sense, and at this point, I don't know if they're gonna continue, you know, to attract a lot of people with the story. So again, epic dumb shit could work, and also, in order for 9.2 to work, all of the systems we have so far need to be stopped and not be added on, right? So the only thing on the current systems, legendaries and conduits and shards, is gonna go away. All the initial ones, they just the only thing they can do in 9.2 with those is to just have them bigger atom level for the conduit over it. That's it.
Or they could also pull the fucking ripcord.
Or that too, but
because there's gonna be so much shit that okay, let's not actually limit players. On what
just stop it with that. It's fine because at the end of the day, if we go in 9.2 and it's the thing with the sepulcher and it's ending all realities. It's a much bigger scope. I don't think the Covenants really will play that much of a big of a role. He already got his sigils.
Yeah.
He's going over there. It doesn't really make much sense to introduce and still maintain the Covenant stories in that patch. So that being said, it's pretty exciting to think about these things.
It's hype. There's a lot of potential.
You know what? It's actually refreshing to talk about shit like this and not drama and not negative things. And
it's been nice to geek out. I was actually just playing recently on the stream and found the tome that I told you about, and I was like, oh my god, yes, the game actually has some interesting lore in it.
So much potential, but we have to be realistic. 9.2 is not going to be coming anytime soon. I am at least expecting some sort of announcement, or as I said, a blog post or whatever, the smallest thing they can do. Maybe in October, November, or something.
If they give us the 9.1.5, which we kind of know it's coming at this point, then maybe they can postpone the 9.2 up until next year, which gives them time to. February. If they're gonna do some crazy ass shit, they might need the time, especially after all the recent shit that's been happening. They do need time
and testing. Okay, because if you're gonna put in what we talked about,
time, testing, and feedback.
Yeah,
because we've tested shit.
It's there. Yeah, I know. It's there. It's included in the testing, right? So if they're gonna go this route with the tier sets, activating a mourneblade, that
would
kind
be
of
so interesting, man. That would be so cool.
That needs a lot of testing and working out, man. Because I can see so many problems with this. Oh my god. But that being said, let us know what you think. Do you find these things interesting? Would something like the stuff we talked about today bring you back to WoW in any way, shape, or form? So let's put it like this. If they would, stop it with, conduits, soulbinds, shards of domination, and legendaries. The only things you can do in 9.2 is just maybe grow their item level naturally. Doing dungeons, doing the raid, blah, blah, blah. That's it. No need to grind. And shards of domination going away, and then they add in this artifacts 2.0 simplified, where there's tier sets that will activate this to make them maybe unlock an ability or some sort of passive to change some other abilities. I don't know. Would that be something?
Yeah, Mourneblades.
All right, so let us know what you think in the comments, and we can have a good discussion about it. Okay, all right, let us know if you liked it as well. If you did, click that like button and that subscribe. We love you.
Appreciate all the patrons who are with us for this entire time.
Directly on the patrons.
Like we gotta show the love where love is due, guys.
Yes,
thank you very much for supporting us in every con that we do. As you can see, we're actually touching on a couple of subjects that we didn't normally touch about. So we hope that you will like this stuff, and if you do, dear viewer, and you also want to support us a little bit more, the link to our Patreon page is down below, as well as every other thing. You can also catch us on stream on twitch.tv/Marcelian&Online.
Hey man, I like how you pronounced it. You didn't go Marcelian. Thank you for watching, and you guys have a great rest of the week ahead. Bye!
Take care, guys.
I've been loving it then, I still love it now. Still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. Getting better every day, let me show you how. Cause still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. It's getting harder to stay, but at the end of the day, it's a guilty pleasure, so just log in and play. Whether it's classic or retail, I'ma do a /bow. Still, I